Today I'm gonna give you the 20 most important lessons from Atomic Habits in 20 minutes. This book has probably created more gym memberships, journaling streaks, and cold showers than any other book in the last 10 years. And yes, it's one of those books that everybody around you have read. But is it actually good? Lesson number 1. Atomic Habits starts in the most disrespectful way possible. The book basically tells you you're not failing because you are lazy. You are failing because you're trying to change your whole life in one dramatic Monday. The first chapter introduces something called the 1% rule. And I know it sounds a little bit boring. 1%? Bro, I want abs. What are you talking about 1%? In the book, there's a story about the British cycling team. For almost 100 years, they were average. But then, this coach comes in and says, what if we just improve everything by 1%? He didn't tell them to train until failure. He just told them to get 1% better every single day. So just 1% better seeds, 1% better tires, and 1% better pillows so they could sleep a little bit better. Even though that seemed crazy, within a few years, they dominated the Olympics. And it wasn't because of motivation. It was because of tiny improvements that compounded over the years. And this is where the book actually messes with your brain. If you get 1% better every day for a year, you become 37 times better. It's exponential growth. So lesson 1 is simple. Small habits feel kinda useless until they compound and completely change your life. Lesson number 2. You're changing the wrong layer. Chapter 2 basically says that you're trying to change your life from the outside, and that's the mistake. Most people focus on outcomes. I want to lose weight. I want to make money. I want to be productive. That's surface level. But the book shows this diagram with 3 layers. You have an outer layer where you have outcomes, then you have a middle layer where you have the processes, and then you have the core layer where you have your identity. And the core is the real game. That's where you should put your focus. Let me explain. If you say, I want to write a book, that's an outcome. If you say, I'm becoming someone who writes every day, that's identity. Now, your behavior changes automatically because identity defends itself. If you believe that you are a disciplined person, you will literally feel uncomfortable skipping the gym. Most people fail because they try to add habits without upgrading the identity behind them. Lesson 3 is called the 4-step habit machine. James Clear basically says that every habit you follows the same 4-step machine. You have cue, craving, response, and reward. And once you understand this, everything will make sense. Let me explain this so it's very, very simple to understand. If your phone buzzes, if you get a notification, that's the cue. You will feel that tiny itch to grab your phone and check it. And that's the craving. So you have the cue and the craving. And once you grab that phone and you see who texted you, or you just grab the phone, that's the response. And when you grab that phone and read that message, that's the reward. And there you have it, the loop being completed. Now, your brain will store that pattern. And next time your phone buzzes and you get a notification, you don't decide, you react. And this is the most important part. Habits are just shortcuts that your brain builds to save energy. The first time you do something, you are thinking. But if you do the same thing 100 times, you think less. Your mind kind of runs on autopilot at that point. And the book actually even mentions that your brain activity decreases once a habit is formed. You literally stop using brain power. And that's why bad habits feel effortless. I mean, you don't need energy to sit on your phone and scroll or hit the snooze button in the morning. Those are habits that are pre-installed. And here's the key. If one of the 4 stops breaks, the habit breaks. So if you don't have a cue, you don't start. And if there's too much effort in the response, you don't continue. And if there's no reward, you don't repeat that behavior. That's it. Lesson 4. You cannot change what you can't notice. Chapter 4 goes crazy. It has a crazy story about a paramedic that goes to a family dinner. She looks at her father-in-law and says, I don't like how you look. He responds with, just relax, I'm fine. But she insists that he goes to the hospital. And a few hours later, that day, he gets an emergency heart surgery. He was about to have a heart attack. She could not explain what she saw. She just knew that something was off. And that's experience. That is pattern recognition. And here's why this matters. Your brain is constantly picking up small cues, like micro signals. But when habits become automatic, you stop noticing them. You wake up, check your phone, brush your teeth, and then scroll, and you don't question any of it. The book literally says that once a habit becomes automatic, we stop paying attention to what we are doing, and that's kind of dangerous because you cannot change a habit if you're not aware of it. So before you fix anything, you need to observe. So the book introduces something called the habit scorecard, and it's simple. Write down everything you do in a normal day, and then once you've written everything down, every single habit, you put labels on those habits. You put good, bad, and neutral, because most of your bad habits are not dramatic. They're just invisible. You don't notice them. You need to see your system, because once you see the system, it's only then that you can change it. Lesson number 5. The chapter starts with an experiment. There were 3 groups of people who wanted to start exercising. Group 1 just tracked their workouts. Group 2 got a motivational presentation about the benefits of exercise. And guess what happened between group 1 and group 2? There was almost nothing that changed. Motivation did not move the needle, but group 3 did something different. They filled in one sentence. During the next week, I will exercise for at least 20 minutes on this day, at that time, in that place. That's it. According to that experiment, their success rate almost doubled. And this is called implementation intention. And it's very simple. You put when X happens, I will do Y. Not I will work out more, but I will work out at 6 p.m. in the gym after work. You have to be very, very specific, because let's be honest, most people don't lack motivation. They lack clarity. Lesson number 6. Your environment is controlling you. It starts with a hospital cafeteria experiment. You know, they did not give people speeches about health. They did not show them documentaries. They just moved the water bottles. That's it. They started to put water in more visible locations. Soda sales dropped. Water sales increased. Nobody forced anyone. They just changed the environment, and the behavior changed automatically. Now here's where it gets interesting. You think you eat junk food because you lack willpower. Well, according to the book, no, you eat junk food because it's what's available. It's the easiest choice that you have. The book literally says people choose product not because of what they are, but because of where they are. If cookies are the only thing in front of you and you are hungry, you're gonna eat cookies. If you don't see the apples, you'll never eat them. And the same thing applies to any bad habit that we have. If you waste a lot of time on your phone, it's probably because your phone is almost right there in front of you all the time. If you want to read more but you can't find your book, it's difficult to read. So lesson 6 is simple. Stop trying to upgrade your willpower and upgrade your environment. Make the good habits obvious. Hide the bad ones. Lesson number 7. Stop testing your willpower. So chapter number 7 is about something that people love to brag about. It's about self-control. So James Clear basically says that self-control is not a real solution. Most people think that disciplined people are just mentally strong. Like they wake up and go, I want to resist temptations today. And James Clear says, no, disciplined people don't fight temptations. They remove it. That's the difference. And he even says in the book that self-control is a short-term strategy. You might resist once, and maybe even twice, but eventually you're gonna go with the easiest solution. You will get tired. So in the book, he says that it's easier to avoid temptation than resist it. So if you can't focus, leave your phone in another room. Try to work with your environment. Lesson 8, make it attractive. Chapter 8 basically says that your brain runs on anticipation, not reward. The book explains something called the dopamine-driven feedback loop. And the key idea is dopamine spikes before you get the reward, not after. The chapter introduces something called temptation building, which is kind of cool. You pair something you need to do with something that you want to do. For example, you can only watch Netflix while being on a treadmill, and you can only scroll social media after finishing your work. Now your brain starts associating discipline with pleasure. So lesson 8 is kind of simple. If you want a good habit to stick, make them attractive. Make discipline feel like a reward. Lesson number 9. Your tribe is programming you. In chapter 9, James Clear basically says you don't choose most of your habits, you absorb them. In the book, James Clear explains that as humans, we want to fit in. We want approval in. We want to belong. And because of that, we copy each other automatically. So if most of your friends go to the gym, going to the gym feels normal. If your coworkers complain all day, complaining becomes normal. The book breaks it into 3 groups that we are imitating. We are imitating the close, the many, and the powerful. So we copy our family and friends. We copy the majority, and we copy snobby people with status, because habits are attractive when they help us belong. And that is very cool to understand, because if you're trying to change alone, you're literally fighting social gravity. But if you join a group where your desired behavior is normal, you don't need motivation. So the book says that if you want to read more, join a book club. If you want to get fit, try to surround yourself by people who train. If you want to build a business, try to surround yourself with people who are building businesses. So lesson 9 is about that your environment shapes your action, but your tribe shapes your identity, and identity sticks way harder. Lesson number 10, you don't crave the habit, you crave the feeling. Chapter 10 says that you don't actually crave the habit, you crave a change in how you feel. You don't crave Instagram, you crave connection. You don't crave junk food, you crave comfort. Every habit has a surface craving and a deeper underlying motive. The book says that every habit has a kind of motive that goes way back. It's all about surviving, it's about belonging, it's about reducing uncertainty, it's about gaining status. And modern habits are just updated solutions to old human desires. And this means that the habit itself is not the problem, the prediction is. Your brain predicts that if I do this, I will feel better after. And that prediction creates the craving. Two people can look at the same cigarette and one will feel desire while the other will feel disgust. There's different predictions and different emotions. So how do you fix a bad habit? You can reframe it. So what do I mean by that? Well, the book explains that instead of saying I have to go to the gym, you can say I get to build strength. There is a small language shift that will make a huge emotional shift. So lesson 10 is about your habits follow your feelings and your feelings follow your thoughts about something. So if you change your story, if you change the way that you feel, you will change the craving and you will change your habit. Lesson 11, stop planning and start repeating. So chapter 11 talks a lot about overthinkers, and this chapter tells a story about a photography class where they have a professor that splits the students into two groups, and one group will get the grade based on quantity, so you have to take 100 photos to get an A, and the second group will be graded on quality, so just take one perfect photo. And guess at the end of the day, when they were looking at the quality of all the students who had the best photos, well, the quantity group, because while the quality group was busy looking at the perfect theory for the perfect picture, the other group was actually practicing, making mistakes, taking photos, and improving. So the book makes it very, very clear. Habits form based on frequency, not time. You don't get better by thinking about doing something. You get better by doing it and being bad at it, and you repeat that behavior until you get good. Lesson 12, make it easy or you probably won't do it. Chapter 12 introduces something called the law of least effort, which is a fancy way of saying that humans are just lazy. Your brain is wired to conserve energy. If there's two options, you will choose the easier option. So the book says that the more friction a habit has, the less likely you are to do it. So instead of trying to become more disciplined, reduce friction. If you want to work out, put your shoes right next to your bed. Make your clothes ready in the morning. If you want to read, put a book on your pillow. So the moment that you want to go to bed, you remember that you have to read first. Increase friction for bad habits and decrease friction for the good one. So lesson 12 is about not fighting your laziness, but working with it. Lesson 13. Start small. Start so small that it's almost stupid. Chapter 13 introduces something called the 2-minute rule. And it says that if you want to start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes. That's it. If you want to read more, just read for 2 minutes. Read one page. And you will probably think at the beginning, man, this is too easy. But the point is not if it's easy or difficult. The point is to start, because starting is the real barrier. Most habits fail at the beginning. When you think about it, a habit must be established before it can be improved. You don't optimize something that does not exist. So the 2-minute rule reduces friction to almost zero. You cannot say that you're too busy to read one single page. You cannot say that you don't have the time to do one push-up. I mean, it's almost psychologically impossible to resist something that is that small. And with time and when momentum kicks in, one page will become 5 pages. And that's where a habit starts to build. Lesson 14, lock yourself in. Chapter 14 is where the book basically says that stop trusting future you. It tells you that future you is unreliable, future you is emotional, future you wants comfort. So instead of relying on willpower, use commitment devices. And he says that a commitment device is something that locks you into a good decision ahead of time. It's like paying for a yearly gym membership. You will feel like you're wasting money if you didn't go at least a couple of times a month, if you're paying for an entire year. The book explains that the best way to change behavior is to make bad habits hard in the moment. Increase friction for the wrong behavior and decrease friction for the right one. So lesson 14 is about make the right choice, the easy choice. Make the wrong choice annoying to take. I mean, the less you negotiate with yourself, the more consistent you can become. Lesson 15. If it doesn't feel good, it won't stick. So in chapter 15, James Clear explains that your brain does not care about long-term goals. It cares about the moment right now. And the book has something that is called the cardinal rule of behavior change. What is immediately rewarded gets repeated. What is immediately punished gets avoided. That's a human behavior. And the problem is that good habits have delayed rewards. If you go to the gym today and give it all what you have, you'll probably not see any physical changes on your body. If you save money today, you will still be broke tomorrow. The tricky thing is that bad habits give you immediate rewards. I mean, sugar tastes absolutely wonderful. Scrolling feels good. And skipping a workout, when you think about it, it's the comfortable thing to do. So, if a habit does not feel satisfying in the moment, you will not repeat it, even if it's good for you. And that is why tracking works. Actually, I have made a habit tracker that you can get for free as a reward for watching so far into this video. I'll put a link in the description and you can download it completely free. So a habit tracker is kind of effective. And when you check that box off, it kind of feels satisfying. It gives your brain a small instant reward. So lesson 15 is kind of simple. If you want a habit to last, attach a reward to it, even if it's a tiny one. Because long-term success is built on short-term satisfaction. Lesson number 16. Never miss twice. Chapter 16 is all about consistency. The book talks about habit tracking and why it works. Humans love progress. When you put an X on a calendar after a workout, you don't want to break that chain. If you log your habit into an Excel sheet, you don't want to ruin the streak. So tracking makes the behavior visible. And what gets measured gets managed. But here's the most important part. The goal is not to be perfect. The goal is to never miss twice. If you have one bad day, that is normal. If you have 2 bad days, that's a new habit forming. If you skip the gym once, it can happen. It's alright. You can get back on your feet and go again tomorrow. But if you skip the gym twice, now you're kind of, drifting. Lesson number 16 is about aiming for resilience. It's okay to make a mistake. You need to get back on track. That's it. Lesson 17. Make it socially painful to fail. Chapter 17 is about accountability, and it's very interesting. The book basically says that we care more about looking bad than actually feeling bad. James Clear writes that if nobody knows your goal, you can quit silently. But if you tell someone, now your reputation is involved. And us as humans, we try to protect our reputation. So the chapter talks about accountability partners, someone who expects you to show up, someone who will notice if you don't. So lesson 17 is simple. If you want to be consistent, you can add social pressure. If you add social pressure, you will start acting differently. Lesson number 18, pick the right game. The book talks about talents and genetics. James Clear explained that you don't need to be good at everything. You need to find where your strength gives you leverage. If you are naturally analytical, lean into that. Habits are easier when they align with who you are, because then friction will be lower. You don't want to force yourself into a system that constantly fights your personality. You want a system that feels natural. Lesson number 19, don't get bored. So in this chapter, James Clear explains that humans stay motivated when something is not too hard and is not too easy. And that is why we play video games, because they constantly adjust their difficulty. it makes the game just hard enough for you to stay engaged. And the problem with that is that good habits get boring. Going to the gym gets boring. Reading gets boring. So lesson 19 is simple. If you want to win long term, you have to fall in love with repetition, because things will eventually get boring. Lesson number 20, and this is the last chapter of the book: don't become a robot. So because habits are so powerful, they can actually also trap you. Once something become automatic, you stop thinking, which is great for consistency, but that is dangerous for growth. If you never look at your system, you will become efficient at the wrong things. And that is why the book talks about reflection and review. You know, just checking in, adjusting, and improving the things that needs to be improved. So yeah, that is Atomic Habits. So if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe, and see you in the next one.